I do want to just very briefly at the beginning of my comment mention this entire water conservation initiative was initiated several years ago by Dr. Ken White, Vice President of University Extension, and he recognized, as we all do, that Utah is the second driest state in the nation, and we're undergoing rapid growth, and that growth is going to be fueled by water that will come from municipal and industrial sources. And ag water, unfortunately, has been targeted for that. So funding requests were made to the Utah legislature, and we had a number of legislators who championed that request. And I thank them for the efforts that put funding together for us to be able to do this work. The water optimization program is established, extension faculty and graduate students were hired, and we're doing research in kind of two primary areas through this entire initiative. What you're seeing is the agronomic irrigation water use, which is primarily a rural portion of the research. But just know that our counterparts who live in cul-de-sacs along the Wasatch Front with lawns and gardens use water as well, and so there's programs being done there to help them with water use and to use it well, but not to waste it. So the cooperator sites that I'm going to be briefly discussing are these: Dustin Christensen here in Sevier County, located in the Sigurd area; McKay Morgan in Sevier County, and you'll hear Trent talk also about McKay. McKay has farms in the Paiute County area, as well as the Monroe Farm, which is known locally as the Tough Farm. Also Keith and Zach Jensen in Sevier Valley, but is in Matt Palmer's county, in Sanpete County in the East Centerfield area. Later, John will be speaking more at length about Don and Kevin Knight's research plot in Delta, and then also been assisting with Leo Stott's farm in Paiute County, or in Millard County. I'm going to skip this little video showing Dustin Christensen's Sigurd Farm. Dustin is a grower here in the valley. He may be on the program with us today. All of these sites, as Kyle has already explained, have these soil moisture stations installed. Each location has a soil moisture station installed, as well as the center pivots have the field net where Kyle can control the various treatments on these respective projects. We're very appreciative to Dustin and his son Taylor, and all those other cooperators who have made this research possible. Kyle this is his master's degree project, and Jeff is also students working with Matt and helping to collect the data. Another location, this is East Centerfield, basically is south of Gunnison. The Zach Jensen operation. Zach is the son of Keith Jensen, and they're hosting the research there. Again, sprinkler irrigated. We have major weather stations at either at the location or near all of our research stations across the state, so that we can take this information from a regular research or a regular weather station, which is online through Utah Climate Center, and compare that to the soil moisture sensors and the information that we're collecting off our research stations. McKay Morgan's operation is in Monroe. Matt does know how to work. He and Kyle drilled a lot of holes to put these irrigation sensors in that Kyle has already explained in some detail. This operation has very gravelly soils. The Jensen operation that I just referred to has heavy soils. So there's a very strong mix of many different types of soil types across these research sites. Leo Stott's in the Pavant area. This is basically basically straight west of Holden in Millard County, another one of the research sites we're helping with. And to also look at flood irrigation, John will be speaking at later in a lot of depth about the Kevin and Don Knight research site in Delta. Flood irrigation in Delta, if you're not familiar, they use level basin flood irrigation, which is essentially a rice paddy with dikes. They use tractor-mounted scrapers with laser technology. Laser beam is projected from this stand and received by the mast on the scraper, and they very literally sculpt the land to 6 inches of dead level slope. The 6 inches of slope goes from one end of the field to the other, which is about a quarter mile long. Use lots of big streams of irrigation water, which is a rather efficient way to irrigate, unlike traditional furrow irrigation. So that's basically our sites.
Okay, so as everybody's explained so far, we're talking about stretching water supplies, and we all know that Utah's the second driest state in the United States, and definitely down in our counties in the central part and southern part of the state, we're really dry. And I picked two really dry areas where we're doing research with the farmers. The first one is just, if you look closely, you can see in the background semis going by. This is Brett Bradshaw and his brother. It's right on I-15. If you ever come south to St. George and look out there, you can see it from the freeway. And it's a good area, but like so many of our other areas, it's an area that's really short on water. They don't have any wells, so they have to rely on water coming out of the mountains. And certainly, like with the drought we're having currently, anything we can do to still get production and be able to save some water is a great way to go. So one of them is over on the east side of the county, and then I also picked a producer out on the west side of the county, and we went as far west as we can in my county. It's about 50 miles within the Nevada border. The Wawa Ranch, it's on the highway that's supposed to be the loneliest highway in the United States, and it's the only thing, there's two pivots out there, and it's the only thing green. And as I put in my comments, it's not the end of the earth, but you can see it from there. And he definitely collects a lot of wildlife and things, being the only green ones there. So these have been two great research places in Beaver County. Out at the Wawa Ranch, we had to put in a weather station because the farm is so isolated from everything else. And it's been able to give us a lot of good information that we needed in order to make sure that we can tell these farmers when the right time is to irrigate. Okay, so as talked about earlier, we started the research project in the spring of 2019. I've got a few pictures here of some of the challenges we had in trying to lay out the plots. It's one thing to lay out square plots, but when you're trying to lay them out according to pivots and in circles, you can really have some challenges. But thanks to Dr. Matt Yost and Kyle, we did a lot of planning, and it's really worked out well. As talked about earlier, we had data loggers were installed at each of the different plots, and these have worked out pretty good. We have had some problems with livestock rubbing on them in the falls and stuff, and we've had to fence off some of these areas to make sure that we can not damage the equipment. Here's a picture of these guys installing the new nozzles, and that's really made a big difference. As Kyle pointed out earlier, some of the nozzles weren't too good. Here's a good example of if you're out there looking at your pivot and your nozzle looks like the one on the right, it's probably time to make a change there. And we're seeing that already, that just changing the equipment over and keeping it maintained the way we should has really made a big difference. And that's something that we're showing to the farmers, and they can really understand this. One of the things that we haven't talked too much about is after each of the cuttings, and in Beaver County, we've had 3 cuttings on one and 4 on the other last year, and we're just completed the second cutting on both of the ones in my county. We are try to get help whenever we can to come do it. I've had 2 interns come and help. We also, out at the winch farm, we were able to get one of the boys to come and help us. And when you're doing 48 plots like Matt or Kyle talked about, you need all the help you can get. And what we did is we have the farmers come in and cut the fields, and then before they come in and rake it, we would come in and take 5 feet of each of those windrows and put it in and weigh it, and then we also take a small sample and put it in so we could dry it down later on. And luckily we were able to get a lot of help, and it makes it a lot easier when you're trying to collect all this information. As pointed out, we're about halfway through the study. Where Matt was able to give us funding we originally were going to go for 2 years, Matt was able to get us funded for a third year. So we're about halfway through the study, and we're just excited to see what kind of results we can get through the rest of the study. I'll set it up, Mark. Get out of here.
We're out here in Circleville this morning. Been working with McKay Morgan. McKay was one of the first producers to show an interest in soil moisture monitoring and irrigation efficiency. He came to us back in early summer of 2018 in that middle of that severe drought. He had an old weather station on the farm which wasn't currently hooked to the Ag Weather Network. We were able to get that weather station up and running and hooked up to the network for him that summer. And he was on one of the very first ones on board with the Irrigation Efficiency Study project. We were able to run the project last year on his fields. Last year was a wetter year, and but this year has been a lot like 2018. We're hoping to collect some really good data this year to help with some of that irrigation efficiency on these really dry years. The Circleville area is prone to drought. They have no water storage, so when the water in the river dries up in this area, that's the end of the water. And so the irrigation efficiency can become a really big deal in this area on short water years, and we're hoping to help him out with some of that. Out here in Wayne County today, this is Dean Chappell's place, Lyman, Utah. Nice pivot here on the south end of town. Doing some more alfalfa growth stage measurements here today. Wayne County had a hard frost the first part of July. This hay was cut not too long before then, and so didn't suffer too much damage, but we did have some damage in the county from that. Wayne County has a very nice watershed. We usually have plenty of water even on dry years like this, but very short growing season, and sometimes we get some hard frosts all summer long. So we're here at Roger Bryan's place. Roger is one of our cooperators on the Irrigation Efficiency Study here in Wayne County, in the Loa area. Roger's got a full circle pivot here, just cut hay last week. Like, one of the unique things about Roger's area is we put a new weather station in this area about 4 years ago, and Roger was willing to let us put that weather station right here on his pivot. And so he's got a nice new weather station. It makes it really nice to monitor our irrigation trial, having the weather station right here on the place. Dean Chappell's place is just across the way here, and we also use this same weather station for his setup. So we're here at one of our Paiute County sites. This is Wade Fountain's place. This particular site did not have a weather station nearby, and so we have installed one of these small weather stations here to track the weather data for this particular site. These weather stations have a data logger with a cellular modem in them that transfer the data back to campus.
So that's just a brief tour of the sites in Wayne County.
We're a little over time.